everybody. Welcome to Entrepreneur First's 11th European Demo Day. I am Alice Bentinck, and this is my co-founder, Matt Clifford. And we wanted to also welcome the very large audience at our live stream in Asia and the live stream on the web as well. So a big welcome to everyone who has joined us here today. Before we get started with the main event for today, which is, of course, the pitches and the companies, Matt and I did want to do a little reminder for some of the investors that are joining us for the first time. I think we've actually got 100 new investors in the room today that haven't been to an EF Demo Day before, which is fantastic. But we did want to do a little bit of a reminder about why we are not an accelerator, but why we are a talent investor. We'll also have our CFO, Joe White, doing an introduction to our new global fund before we hand over the proceedings to Alistair Fury, who is our Managing Director of our European programs. EF was founded on the idea that it matters what the most ambitious people do with their lives. It matters that the most ambitious and the most talented individuals become founders. However, whether they do or they don't become founders is often largely dependent on where they're based. If you're based in Silicon Valley, it's the default and aspirational career path. However, if you're not based in Silicon Valley, it often isn't on people's radars in the same way. At Entrepreneur First, we make it our mission to find and seek out those talented and ambitious individuals. We believe the world is missing out on some of its best founders, and it's our mission to make sure that doesn't happen. What we do with them is bring them together. So there are many reasons that make it very hard for individuals in ecosystems outside of Silicon Valley to start a startup. One of the main issues, one of the key issues, is finding other individuals like them that want to start a startup. So at EF, we bring outliers together. We bring talented technologists, talented potential CEOs together to help them build a startup from scratch. One of the key things that we do differently compared to every other accelerator or every other investor is that we invest in an individual before they have a team and before they have an idea. We're investing purely on potential, their potential as a founder. We call this model talent investing. We're not an accelerator, we're not an early stage VC. Both of those models invest in companies rather than people. We invest in people. The companies that you see today, the founders that you see today, all joined us 6 months ago as individuals. They were selected not for their ideas, they weren't selected for their co-founders, they were selected for their potential. And over the last 6 months, they've been through the EF program, which we developed over the last 8 years, which was pioneered here in London. They've been through this program to go through the process of building an idea and building a team from scratch.
When we started this model in 2011, a lot of people thought it was crazy, and that was understandable. But today, EF really is growing explosively. We started by funding 30 individuals back in 2011. This year, EF will fund 800 individuals around the world, not just here in London, but actually all over the world. Half of our business now is outside Europe, is in Asia. And it's not just EF that's growing explosively, so is the portfolio. Many of you have invested in EF companies. And in fact, last year we saw the EF portfolio raise more capital than in the entire history of EF before that. But as Alice has said, it's not just about companies, it's about talent investing. And not only did we have more capital raised last year than in the history of EF before that, we had more applications to join the EF community last year than in the entire history of EF before that. In fact, EF is increasingly a global mission. The thing that Alice said about the world missing out on some of its best founders, that started as a diagnosis about the problem in London. Increasingly, it seems that's a problem everywhere in the world, perhaps outside Silicon Valley. And that's why today you're seeing not just London companies, but for the first time, companies built in 3 different EF locations: London, Paris, and Berlin. They're the main event. We can't wait to show you what they're doing. We think you'll see genuinely global ambition as well as genuine exceptional talent. But before we kick off, I do want to say a few thank yous. An event like today doesn't work without a lot of people pulling together, not least our corporate partners. The Telegraph we continue to work very closely with. They've become a core part of the EF family, and every cohort kicks off with an event at the Telegraph. And in fact, many now of our alumni companies are working very closely with the Telegraph. Also, thank you to Vitruvian Partners, our private equity partner. Vitruvian has invested in some of the leading lights of Europe that show just what is possible in this continent. It's amazing to have a fund like them in the ecosystem, and we love working with them. And thanks also to Amazon Web Services, AWS, through the AWS Activate program. Many of our companies, not just in Europe, but also in Asia, are growing and scaling, and it's a relationship that we're excited to continue to deepen. Also, just a broader thank you to the EF team. You will see 29 teams today, and all 105 people that work at EF have contributed one way or another to building these companies, whether it's the talent team that found the people in the first place, the team that worked with these individuals to help them form companies, or the funding team and launch teams that put on today's event, and of course, our brilliant venture partner team. And really crucially, our limited partners. So as you may have seen, we announced last month that we've raised a new global fund. We want to tell you a little bit about this because we think it's quite special. So I'm really delighted to welcome to the stage Joe White, our CFO, to tell you a little bit about how it works and how it's going to work with all of you. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you, Matt. So as you have already heard, 2018 was a huge year for EF, opening up 4 new offices, now operating in 6 locations. And for us, really, this allows us to reach and activate talent all over the world. So as you've also heard, we now operate in London, Berlin, Paris, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Bangalore. So some of you may have rightly thought, how the hell are they going to pay for all this? Reid Hoffman's a generous guy and everything, but come on. So we're very excited to be able to confirm, I think, what many of you already know, but we've closed our global fund with our first public announcement of 115 million. And this really allows us to invest in all these locations and all of this talent from a single global pot. A quick recap on how the fund actually works. So for each of these individuals that we invest in, and talent is, of course, our key ingredient, we invest in a 2K stipend per month, which for us really allows anyone to participate on the EF program. And we'll invest in them before there's anything to invest in otherwise. For those that really excel, we invest 80K after 3 months, and this allows them to incorporate their company, to accelerate their plans, bring on their first employees. And then when it comes to their seed rounds, we'll anchor it with a 15% commitment. We, of course, rely on you to come in and lead those rounds alongside of us. And just to be clear, for us, the best seed round means the best investor for their company, not the highest price round. I know a lot of you think about that often. This new fund will allow us to invest in more than 2,000 founders globally across all our different locations and more than 300 seed companies that we produce, and really give people who would otherwise have no access to our ecosystem the ability to on-ramp into it and to really thrive. EF fundamentally believes that talent is globally distributed, but access to capital is not. We're definitely not going to be in every city in the world, but we believe if you're close enough to one of our cities, if you're a smart girl or a guy from Indonesia, or even a developing country in Europe, like post-Brexit Britain, then that's right, even post-Brexit Britain will benefit from EF. If you can get on the Eurostar, it's fine. If you can get to one of our hubs, then we'll invest in you to find that co-founder, we'll invest in you to accelerate that program, we'll invest in you to raise from the best seed fund locally, and we'll help you tap into the global pool of capital as well. But the last thing is, we really couldn't do this without you, the broader ecosystem. I mean, we're incredibly grateful and proud of the support that you've provided us as co-investors, as LPs, and as part of this growing and thriving ecosystem. So really thank you for that. And the future that we're building together really is exciting. But enough of me, so I'll hand over to Alistair. It's showtime.
Great. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully by now you all know we're going to see 3 cohorts today. We've got London 11, Berlin 2, and Paris 1. But is this just more of the same thing? Thankfully, no. And now that Matt and Alice are now in the green room, I can pull back the curtain and share some secrets with you. First, we have to flash back 2 years to EF6. 2 years ago, their seed checks were hitting the bank. Now that group of companies is worth around $250 million. They're just hitting the knee of the curve. Now, EF6 was 21 companies upstage on demo day. Today, we have 29. Now, that's 40% more companies. But what you can't see is that's 400% larger applicant pool. Why is that? Basically, EF has got way, way more selective. And that higher selectivity should translate to way higher quality. Now, it's time to welcome EF Europe 11 and meet the teams. First, we're going to start with our first ever nanotech company. Let's meet Grant from Fabric Nano.
My name is Grant, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fabric Nano. Fermentation is a process that humans have been exploiting since the Stone Age. We started by turning grapes into wine and barley into beer. Today, some 12,000 years later, this same basic chemical reaction powers the $5 trillion global chemicals market. A lot has changed in 12,000 years. But fundamentally, one thing remains constant. We still rely on living cells to do the hard work. Biotechnology, as we know it, the type that's received massive corporate R&D spend and venture investment, focuses on improving this living cell. This is no surprise. A 1% increase in efficiency, purity, and speed can save a single chemical plant millions of dollars per day. But for all this time, money, and effort spent, ultimately, all we have in return is a faster horse. What if I told you we didn't even need this living cell? At Fabric Nano, we're designing the world's first artificial cells for industrial applications. We've taken everything we know about the living cell and rebuilt it from scratch to make reactions go 100 times faster. We collect all the components necessary for fermentation and co-locate them on an artificial surface, a fabric made of DNA. To commercialize this technology, two conditions must be met. First, the technology must be cost efficient. In the last 18 months alone, the price of DNA, the very backbone of our artificial cell technology, has come down 1,000-fold. Second, the science must be extremely well understood. My co-founder, Ferdy, is one of the only people in the world that can design stability like this to avoid failure in the lab like that. Ferdy has a computational biophysics PhD from Oxford University, where he co-authored OxDNA, the world's most accurate and reliable DNA simulation engine. My background is in systems engineering and mathematical modeling, which I practiced as a mechanical engineer and then as a PhD economics student at London Business School. Through data sharing agreements with 3 multi-billion-dollar chemical companies, we are already prototyping this technology at Imperial College Labs. And we have already filed the patent for designing artificial cells for industrial applications. Fabric Nano believes in biotechnology beyond the living cell. We are raising £1.5 million to bring fermentation out of the Stone Age and revolutionize industrial biology. Please come and talk to us.
One of the privileges of working at EF is we get a sneak preview of the future. Literally, the smartest people in the world come and tell us what can be done now. From our applications, it's clear that biotechnology is at a true inflection point in its capabilities. Let's start to see what that looks like with fast biotech.
Hi, my name is Alexander, and we are Fast Biotechnologies. Last year, about 5 million people died from the world's 5 most deadly types of cancer combined. But what if I told you that there is one medical condition that single-handedly caused even more death? This condition is called sepsis, and it is commonly known as an infectious blood poisoning. Sepsis is not only deadly, it is also the most expensive acute medical condition, costing Western countries alone about €100 billion every year. Today, when doctors suspect sepsis, they take a blood sample, send it to the lab, and then wait between 2 to 5 days to get the result. And that's a big, big problem, because each hour of delay on administering treatment to sepsis patient decrease his chances to survive by 7%. So what do doctors do? While waiting for the result, they prescribe broad-spectrum antibiotics and hope that they will work. But they won't, in 1 out of 5 cases. And that figure is getting worse and worse due to escalating antibiotic resistance. At Fast Biotechnologies, we take chance out of equation. We develop a medical device that can reliably diagnose infections, like sepsis, in minutes instead of days, and provide information on the most appropriate antibiotic to use for each specific case. Current methods are not good enough in detecting trace amounts of bacteria directly from blood. But this is exactly what our proprietary Avalanche technology is made for. We need just one bacterium to start a cascade reaction that looks like an avalanche of light that we can measure to provide clinicians with that fast result that they so desperately require. This idea is a direct continuation of my co-founder's research. Balendu has more than 15 years of experience in biophysics and microbiology, working for renowned research institutions across the US and Europe. Prior to co-founding Fast Biotechnologies, Balendu led a research group for Johnson & Johnson, specifically in the field of microbiome. As for myself, I have a PhD in molecular biology from Max Planck Institute and spent nearly a decade working in the biomedical space. Joining our team is the Vice President of German Sepsis Society and Sterling Professor of Molecular Biology at Yale, whose work is foundational for our technology. We're already testing our tech in the lab. Partnership with Fraunhofer Society and close collaborations with 3 large German hospitals will allow us to bring our solution to the market fast. Treating sepsis is a race. And until now, the world has been losing. At Fast Biotechnologies, we have the key that will change this forever. Come talk to us.
Another one of the mega trends that we see in our applicant base and in our companies that we build is companies who are trying to address the challenges and opportunities posed by moving to a sustainable future. So now, moving from a molecular scale to a planetary one, we have Hubert from Liqmited.
At Liqmited, we detect water leaks from space. Water is the most precious human resource, and only 0.6% of water is suitable for human needs. Demand for water is growing like never before. However, we waste 35% of this precious resource in our underground distribution networks. This is 15 billion euros losses every year due to water leakages. In fact, fixing a leak, it's easy. But finding one, it's a nightmare. Leak detection technologies haven't changed in 60 years. They are labor-intensive and still relies on acoustic technologies. So you may wonder, how can we detect a leak from space? A leak changes the properties of the ground. High-resolution electromagnetic measurements obtained from radar satellite that can penetrate the ground recently became available. Combining with our unique data set, we train our pattern recognition machine learning models to detect a leak within 20 meters. This is a 1,000 times improvement. So when we presented our solution to a water operation manager, he was excited. Because number one, his company can win more deals with a better distribution efficiency. Number two, they can save millions of euros by reducing water losses. And number three, they can meet the regulation, which is getting more strict. This is why we secure a pilot proof of concept worth 35,000 euros with Lasor, one of the largest water companies in the world. The exclusive access to their dataset will allow us to map 20% of the French water network. The proof of concept turned into a €4 million revenue contract next year when we hit our technical milestone. And we have several other companies in the pipeline. By starting off with leak detection, we will also be in a perfect position to predict when a pipe will break in the future. And now I challenge you to find a better team to implement this vision. My co-founder, Juan, has 20 years of experience and served as head of data at Claire Chanel. He studied mathematics up to PhD level and worked on pattern recognition in finance and advertising. As for myself, I have an MBA from HEC and a PhD in fluid dynamics and optical diagnostics, which basically consists to remotely sense materials using electromagnetic waves. But the leak method, it's not just another EF AI startup with PhDs, MBAs. Juan and I, we both come from countries, Mexico and Cameroon, where we don't take water for granted. We know how lucky we are to have water every day at home. I personally experienced water shortage and water rationing due to poor efficiency my entire life. So we invite you to join us in our mission to empower every water company in the world to preserve our most precious resource on earth, water. Thank you.
So most, if not all of you, will have SaaS companies in your portfolio. So you'll know what a 20% reduction in churn means. Jonathan is here from Can-Do to tell us how it's done.
I'm Jonathan, and I believe in origin stories. I was born in Silicon Valley. I went to Stanford, and both of my parents worked in tech. A decade ago, they both lost their jobs on the same day. It was a Friday. Finding another job was hard because this is what people thought, that their skills had not kept pace with technology. This much is true. Technology is changing how we work, and the pace of that change is only getting faster. If we don't keep upskilling, we will get left behind. And that's not just bad for us. That's bad business. I spent the last 5 years growing SaaS businesses, and if you wanted to scare me, you'll need to say one word: churn. Churn happens when users are let down by a product. 9 times out of 10, it is not because the product can't do what we need. It's because we can't do what we need. We don't know how to. At Can-Do, we're building a learning platform that upskills your users as they use your product. Users learn and do until it clicks. This is what on-the-job training should look like. Because we're in-app, we can measure the impact of learning on engagement. And what you measure, you improve. We have been judging our training programs on, did you like it? At Can-Do, we're asking, did it work? By increasing adoption of sticky features, by decreasing churn. Think about the last time you used a complex piece of software, like Xero. You figure out how to do a few basic things, but that's as far as you get. Of course, it would be better if Xero came with your own personal accountant to show you what the product is really capable of, but that doesn't scale, so you hire one, and you never open Xero again. Well-trained customers are 20% more likely to renew than untrained customers. For a SaaS company, that is the difference between a leaky bucket and profitability. Just a 1% increase in renewal rate increases valuation by more than 10%. For you, that is the difference between a very painful board meeting and jumping to get in on the next round. And here's where I think this gets really interesting. Can-Do learns as your users learn. Not just in one application, although that's great, but across applications in general. We are mapping how humans learn software. So you're probably wondering, okay, can we build it? Well, thankfully, before Can-Do, my co-founder Michele helped build Coursera. And thanks to him and our team, 8 companies in the UK and the US are embedding education into their own products with Can-Do. Everyone in this room loves technology. Some of you might also love humans. We are building a better way for humans and technology to work together. If you or your portfolio companies want to be a part of that future, come find us. We can do it together. We're Can-Do. Thank you.
Okay, so immunotherapies offer hope to millions of cancer patients worldwide, but they have an Achilles heel. You need to match the therapy to the patient's needs. Now, Blazor solve this problem, and in doing so, unlock the power of immunotherapies for millions of people. Dora is going to tell you more.
Thank you. I'm Dora. We at Blazor unlock the potential of cancer immunotherapies. Immunotherapies boost the immune system to track and kill cancer more efficiently. First, they were used to treat blood cancer, and for the surprise of many, they worked. Then they were repurposed into melanoma, lung, and kidney cancer, and they worked again. So it would seem that we found a cure for cancer. No, because these therapies only work for 1 in 5 patients. Additionally, they're very expensive to create. At Blazor, we want to change that. We are building a machine learning platform to predict response to immunotherapy. Predictions are important because pharma and clinicians eagerly need to know which patients to recruit for their clinical trials. And clinical trials are necessary to repurpose and combine existing therapies, but also to validate new ones. But this is hard because the immune system is complex, and so is immune response. It depends on patient genetics, tumor traits, and immune system activity. At Blazor, we capture and interpret the dialogue between the immune system and the tumor. Our platform integrates medical imaging, genomic, genetic, and outcome of patients. Our platform has raised interest from pharma, one that is interested in changing the way they capture data during clinical trials in order to be able to work with us. Additionally, more than 20 clinical facilities are now eager to become early adopters of Blazor. We have gathered a large data set from patients to initiate the building of our prototypes. Pharma is investing heavily in this already very big market, $100 billion, expected to double until 2024. We are now facing a very big opportunity. This venture is possible due to the unique combination of skills of our team. My co-founder and CTO, Renan, is a machine learning engineer and data scientist that for the last 5 years has built and scaled more than 20 machine learning projects, generating millions of dollars in revenue. As for myself, I'm a cancer researcher for the last 14 years. I have a PhD from Cambridge University, and I've published 5 peer-reviewed papers. Now, we are facing an extremely big opportunity. The immune system may be the most effective therapeutical tool there is, and we are now looking for daring partners to join us make this a reality. If that's you, then come and talk to us. Thank you.
So up next, we have Leo from Alchemy, and I can guarantee you that this is the most compelling EF pitch you'll ever hear about concrete. Leo, take it away.
Concrete is the most used building material across the world. a $1 trillion market. The only thing mankind consumes more of is water. My family Spanner has been making concrete for the last 91 years. Its production is highly complex. It involves multiple companies, sites, and processes such as melting, grinding, mixing, and pouring. But what most people don't know is that the resulting concrete is often stronger than it needs to be. This is because of the limestone, its natural basis. Every piece of it is different. This drives the strength of concrete up and down. And until now, the only way to find out is a test that takes 28 days to complete. By that time, a whole month of production will have been shipped. And if it wasn't strong enough, customers will be richtig unglücklich. To avoid that, producers make their concrete excessively strong. Of course, this concrete costs more to produce and causes higher carbon emissions. With Alchemy, no more of that. Alchemy's machine learning and control theory solution determines the strength of concrete within 40 minutes instead of 28 days, and precisely suggests which wheels to turn to get it right back on target. This increases cement plants' profits by 5% and concrete batches' profits by 50%, and is the foundation for precision concrete. Barriers for entry into this industry are huge. That's why we launched Alchemy in the plant where I grew up, where our prototype has been live in production for over 1 month. This prototype has attracted keen interest in the industry and enabled us to select 2 more producers, including one of the largest in the world, to join our paid early adopter program. Now, I've already told you about my background, but joining me are 2 remarkable machine learning PhDs. My co-founder Robert has started and scaled the AI pricing group at Flixbus, whose algorithms are behind hundreds of thousands of ticket prices each day. Heiner's machine learning models have supercharged the discovery of the Higgs boson. We're proud to count as our advisors the CEO of the German Cement Association, the leading expert in industrial process control, and the co-founder of Flixbus. In times of global warming and massive urban growth, our solution can save the equivalent of the entire United Kingdom's carbon emissions, which is why Europe's leading green tech innovation program has funded us. Join us to build the world with Alchemy.
So it's not every investment committee that we're pitched an entirely new type of advertising. Presscast promises a new class of advertising that's both organic and scalable. Lewis is here to tell us more.
Hi, I'm Lewis, CEO of Presscast. In the beginning, there was the internet, and it was good. And then the advertisers came, and they ruined page after page with pop-ups, tracking scripts, banner ads, and they left in their wake a barren wasteland of flash sales and hot singles in your area. This is the true face of programmatic advertising, and it's the reason we all block ads. But because we all block ads, marketers had to get creative. You see, digital marketing today is all about media creation. Brands create content to delight and engage their users before selling to them. And this is called content marketing, and while it's really effective, it does suffer from a fatal flaw. It's super expensive. It doesn't scale. You have to hire writers, managers, engineers, strategists, a whole team before you know it. But at Presscast, we're creating a completely new advertising category, one that combines the effectiveness of content marketing with the tremendous scale of programmatic advertising. And we call it natural language advertising. With NLA, you can skip the creative process and capture content that already exists in the wild. Here's how it works. Our AI ingests and analyzes the 4 million articles that are published on the web every day and curates them based on what your customers are already reading. Then, our marketplace allows you to embed a piece of text that you write directly into the article. Now notice, I'm not talking about placing an ad next to the article. I mean it's in the text. Your product becomes part of the prose. It contributes to the article. It's natural language. Let's talk about a real example. An accountant is reading an article about how a company called Fintopia is revolutionizing the financial services sector. He reads this passage, and there it is. This is Presscast in action. Fintopia found this article on Presscast, selected this exact spot in the article, and submitted a bid to include this very quote. The publisher reviewed the bid, approved it, and received payment. So for Fintopia, this is word of mouth on an industrial scale. And for the publisher, it's a revenue stream that finally respects his editorial line. Stop creating content. Start capturing it. We launched 1 week ago, and we already have 1,200 advertisers and 540 publishers on board, so we are live and in business. My name's Lewis. I'm a journalist, turned neuroscientist, turned CEO, and the machine learning algorithms I used to study the brain now power our content matching. I'm joined by 2 co-founders. Guillaume is our CPO. He has over 10 years experience in digital marketing and has created not 1, but 2 consultancies from scratch in 2 different countries, one in France and one in Canada. Casey's our CTO. He created the marketing infrastructure for the biggest SEO SaaS company in the world, a company called Moz. So, our MVP focuses on text publishing, but we're taking natural language advertising everywhere. We're taking it to podcasts, we're taking it to video, and we're even taking it to new and exciting formats like VR, and that is why we're raising a seed round. We want to grow the team, we want to clear 10,000 transactions, and we want to expand to the US. Stop creating content. Start capturing it. We're Presscast, and we're creating a completely new kind of advertising.
So our next team has a spoiler alert. I can't tell you anything. The one thing I can tell you, it's probably the fastest moving medtech team we've ever seen at EF. Welcome, Saruchi.
Good afternoon. 6 months ago, I met my co-founder, Letizia, and all we had was an idea and an ambition to make a global impact on chronic diseases. And now, we have secured over £350,000 in grants, have a paid trial with one of the world's largest clinical research organizations, are in discussions with a top pharmaceutical company, and are members of the Johnson & Johnson laboratories with access to their worldwide facilities. How? The reason is simple. We're addressing one of the world's most costly and chronic conditions. It's actually a condition which will affect 1 in 4 of us in this room today. It's not heart disease. It's not diabetes. It's actually arthritis. And if left untreated, this can become one of the most painful and debilitating conditions you will experience. Arthritis costs healthcare systems over $200 billion every year globally. And this is, in fact, a huge opportunity for pharmaceutical companies and clinical research organizations who run over 3,000 trials during that same time period to develop drugs for arthritis. But they have 3 main problems. Capturing data on a patient's response to treatment is expensive, infrequent, and has to happen face-to-face, making monitoring patient disease activity a costly and challenging task. But at Arthronica, we have the solution. Our AI architectures can precisely measure the range of motion of each individual joint using any digital camera in the world, and even the smartphones in your pockets. This means we can provide the cheap, highly accurate, and frequent data that these organizations most desperately need, all from the comfort of a patient's home. And this alone can save them over $20 billion every year. So why are we the best people to solve this problem? Our team consists of a medical doctor from Imperial College London, that's me, Suruchi, who has developed and sold transformative technologies to healthcare organizations and pharmaceutical companies across the world. Letizia, who has been developing our technology over the past 3 years, over 3 leading institutions, including NYU, NTU Singapore, and Imperial, during her PhD in computer vision and bioengineering. Together, our team have over 20 years of experience in high-performance computing and image processing and selling these very solutions to pharmaceutical companies. Our advisory board consists of key opinion leaders from NHS Digital, the Royal Society of Medicine, and the American College of Rheumatologists. And of course, we know we're working in a highly regulated industry. So, we've just filed our first patent, are in the process of CE marking our technology, and as we speak, our AI models are being trained on over 20,000 patients across the UK. So join us, so we can together help individuals with arthritis remain pain-free, independent, and out of hospital.
I spent nearly a decade working in AI and robotics. I love a good robotics team. Unfortunately, at EF, we don't see many good robotics businesses. It's very rare to see the technology and the business case align. When you do, it's a rare and beautiful thing. Enter stage right, Sembla.
Have you ever wondered how the Romans built their houses? Good news. You can experience it today firsthand. The process is exactly the same. Paper drawings, measuring string, and manual labor. Manufacturing has had its robot revolution, but construction has been left behind. Those robots used in manufacturing are fundamentally useless for work on site. With the industry at around $10 trillion worldwide, bringing robots to construction will be a big win for humanity. At Sembla, we are building those robots. For our first robot, we are automating bricklaying, a market of around $1 billion in the UK alone and $9 billion in Europe. House builders are in the midst of a perfect storm. There is demand for more and more houses, but the workforce to build them simply isn't there. All our customers have explored using robots before, but with previous bricklaying robots, there's always been an elephant in the room. That's the robots themselves. They are literally like elephants. They're huge, cumbersome, and expensive. We solved the problem of bricklaying using a swarm of small robots, about the size of a cat. Our robots climb over the structure as they build it, using cutting-edge relative robot technology. This is quicker and cheaper and more reliable than the competition. What's exciting for you is that by deploying iRobots as a service, we can deliver software-like margins at scale. Building this technology requires a unique intersection of skills: construction, robotics, complexity science, and machine learning. I trained at the top architecture school in the world, and after helping design skyscrapers at a leading engineering firm, did 2 masters in robotics and computation for construction at UCL. My co-founder Felix has a PhD in complexity science and developed machine learning applications at a previous startup. We're also supported by a great team of advisors from the brick industry, swarm robotics in academia, and the construction technology market. We're currently testing our prototypes on real sites and also carrying out digital trials with several house builders. We also have a partnership with Ibstock, who are the UK's largest brick manufacturer. But remember, it's not just about bricks. By being the first to deploy robot swarms, we will be in prime position to expand beyond bricks to other areas of construction. All materials, on all continents, and all planets. Come meet our robot. Thanks.
Businesses depend on the continuity of their IT operations. But when detecting and predicting faults require searching logs that would stretch from here to the moon, that puts businesses in an uncomfortable position. Packet AI are here to solve this problem.
Hi, I'm Hardik, co-founder of Packet AI, and we're building an AI to automate IT operations. IT infrastructures are the backbone of this modern society, but we give it little thought until things go horribly wrong. In fact, I bet every one of you sitting here would have previously experienced the inconveniences caused due to IT incidents. Remember the last time your app crashed? Or you could not log into your bank account because the web page was broken. Well, last week, we met the CTO of a leading airlines company. 6 months back, they had to ground their entire flight for 36 hours due to a core issue on their web servers. 36 long hours. The impact? 150 million of lost revenue and thousands of angry customers. Last year alone, IT incidents cost businesses over 40 billion euros, and engineers spent a collective of 100 million hours to resolve issues. Unfortunately, IT incidents happen all the time, and we're here to change that. Packet AI enables companies to predict incidents before they impact customers and resolve them in a fraction of a time. Now, it may sound simple, but it's not. IT infrastructures are extremely complex, generating not just gigabytes, but terabytes of information every second. By 2025, we would have over 80 billion devices connected to IP networks. That is equivalent to over 10 times the world population. Absolutely massive. The human brain or existing solutions can't cope with such complexity, but that's where we come in. Leveraging the power of deep learning and massive parallelism, we ingest huge amounts of data, correlate thousands of parameters, and point out to potential issues. All this in real time. Using our solutions, companies can prevent up to 80% of incidents and save millions of dollars. Now let me introduce you to the team. My co-founder, Abdel, has a PhD in computer networks and has spent the past 3 years working with top corporates like Huawei and Orange, building self-healing autonomous infrastructures. He's one of these rare people in the world who has mastered this skill and owns 2 patents. Being a telecoms engineer and having worked for large corporations like Thales and Alstom, I grasp the complexity of IT infrastructures. Being a second-time founder and having scaled Uber in the UK, I know what it takes to grow companies. Now let's talk about our traction. Our solution delivers over 10x ROI, which is why CTOs of top 2 leading multinationals have already signed for a proof of concept, with many others in the pipeline. For example, we're running a trial with one of the leading defense and aerospace companies. Part of this, we're monitoring 200 of their servers and helping them automate a crucial part of their IT ops. We are Packet AI, and we're building a new generation of self-healing and autonomous IT infrastructures. Come talk to us to know more. Thank you.
Everybody knows that genomics is the future of medicine, but we're still not there. Nostos Genomics bring together the biotechnology and software to unlock the full potential of genomics-based medicine for everybody. Let's hear more from David.
Hello, everyone. My name is David, and I'm the co-founder of Nostos Genomics. We empower medical labs to diagnose genetic diseases. You may think that genetic diseases are very rare. In fact, there are 300 million people in the world living with a genetic disease. And the exciting news is that right now, there are hundreds of drugs and gene therapies being developed for them. But the thing is, to receive a treatment, you first need to know what disease you have. Yet 70% of genetic tests fail to diagnose a patient. This is because the human genome is like the universe. It's immensely vast, constantly evolving, and utterly unexplored. There are tens of billions of possible mutations in the human genome, and our knowledge barely scratches the surface. Usually, AI is a great tool to tackle this kind of problems. But in this case, the data needed to train the algorithm just doesn't exist. At Nostos Genomics, we solved this by generating our own data with our CRISPR-based genome editing technique. My co-founder, Osio, has mastered this technique in the very lab where it was developed. She's a medical doctor with a PhD in human genetics and nearly a decade of experience in genomics. And me? I'm facing this problem in my personal life right now. This gives me a unique motivation to solve it, using my experience and my network from working with 4 leading organizations in healthcare and initiating a multi-million-euro infrastructure project. We are joined by an exceptional team. Our head of machine learning, also David, brings in 10 years of experience in AI. And then 3 world-renowned scientific experts, including Dr. Leah Starida, who is pioneering the use of our technique in precision medicine. You see, even though most patients remain undiagnosed, genetic testing is a market that is already worth billions. With our software, medical labs can now diagnose more patients in a fraction of the time. Imagine how much bigger it can get. 4 labs have already signed up to our pilot program, and the first one, with the largest chain of medical labs in Europe, is just about to start. We are on a mission to exponentially increase our understanding of the human genome. If you'd like to join us, come talk to us. Thank you.
If you've ever traded digital assets, you'll likely have been punished by a horrific bid-ask spread. Now, that spread is a reflection, I'm sure you all know, of like poor market health and a lack of liquidity. This is unsustainable. However, there's a huge opportunity in providing liquidity services for these markets. Enter Delta Block.
Hello, everyone. We are Delta Block, and we are liquidity providers for digital assets. Having spent my career in capital markets, I can tell you that these assets are going mainstream. But as any new asset class, there's one big problem. They're always highly liquid at the beginning. And this problem requires solving even in big traditional stock exchanges, where market makers are the ones that improve the market conditions of both new and very mature assets. But the same solution cannot be applied to digital assets. And market makers have proven to be inefficient in this space. This happens because digital assets require all services to be adapted to their own features and to the technology behind them. I am Maria, and I'm the CEO of Delta Block. And we are using cutting-edge research in math and liquidity modeling alongside state-of-the-art infrastructure in order to adapt this traditional financial service to the next generation of assets and exchanges. With our solution, we'll guarantee that any digital asset will be as accessible as any other stock in the market. And we are incredibly well-suited for this challenge. Hamza, the CTO, holds a PhD in the very same field of liquidity modeling. He even stands out as a researcher and professor of blockchain technologies at Cambridge University and Sorbonne University. He's just the right person to build this. And I am just the right person to put it into motion. I'm a former trader and portfolio manager, and I've been in the industry for about 10 years. And I've worked for big institutions such as JP Morgan. But my main expertise happened to be in highly liquid markets. With our unique set of skills and with the guidance of two of the most influential professionals overseeing the move from traditional markets to digital assets in Europe, we've been able to put in place our MVP. And we've proven that our algorithms are at least 20 times more efficient than any other market maker in the space. And we have a fast-growing market to interact with. We all know Bitcoin, but there are thousands of digital assets out there that require the service. Right now, the market size was 3 billion euros, but is expected to reach 100 billion euros in just half a decade. That's why DataBlock already has 2 contracts, generating profits of 25,000 euros. One with one of the first marketplaces launched in Europe, the other one with one of the biggest issuers in France. Our pipeline grows by the day, and we're expecting to generate revenues of 6 digits after the very first year of activity. Switzerland is taking the lead in incorporating digital assets to their own traditional stock exchange, and more countries, regulators, and financial institutions are on board. This is going mainstream, so the time for skepticism, it's over. Today we're racing in fiat, and we're looking for change makers to join us. If you're one of them, come and talk to us.
So our next company, Realm, is helping the next generation of marketplaces become unicorns. In doing so, they hope to become a unicorn themselves. Lottie from Realm.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Lottie, CEO of Realm. We provide business intelligence for marketplaces. $500 billion is transacted through marketplaces every year. From e-commerce, we have an abundance of tools to understand the demand side, the user. We know who they are, and we know the cost of acquiring them through different channels. But the suppliers, they often get forgotten. Take Sarah. She's a driving instructor on an online platform. In her current area, she can only fulfill 60% of her available lesson time. That's lost earnings for her and lost revenue for the marketplace. At Realm, we take all of a marketplace's supply and demand data and create a mass-scale simulation. We spot opportunities where user demand is being missed due to lack of supply, and we analyze your current supply base to understand who they are and how valuable they are. Ultimately, providing supply-side teams with information on how to maximize marketplace revenue. With Realm, the marketplace can now tell Sarah to open up in these postcodes, where she can fill 95% of her time. Now imagine the marketplace does this for all 2,000 driving instructors. This will generate millions in extra revenue. And this is just one small example of what Realm can do. We're already working with 10 marketplaces with over 70,000 individual suppliers, with many more lined up on our wait list. And marketplaces are so desperate for our solution that they are giving us direct access to their databases. And we are already providing valuable, actionable insights. Most excitingly, by training our algorithm on multiple data sets, we can provide better results than any one in-house data science team. And why are we the ones to do it? I've spent my career developing supply-side strategies for marketplaces and left my most recent role to start a company and fix these inefficiencies. And my co-founder, Alex, he has more than 10 years' experience in high-performance computing, including numeric weather forecasting at Intel, and he even simulated an entire island's ecosystem whilst at ETH Zurich. His skills in optimization and forecasting are at the core of our solution. If you want to bring new realms of possibility to marketplaces through their supply side, come talk to us. Thank you.
Some ideas can be built in a team where one of the founders has a broad skill set, and that's fine. Other ideas require absolute cutting-edge, state-of-the-art skills in both of the founders to make the technology tractable. Panakia is one of those teams. Let's hear some more.
Four years ago, when I was doing my PhD in cancer biology, my doctors thought I had cancer. I had to wait 28 days for the test results. 28. I was terrified. Wouldn't you be if you knew that a 28-day delay could reduce your life to months from decades? Turns out I just had a vitamin D deficiency, like everyone in the UK. But this left me angry. Why does it take so long? Well, once doctors suspect cancers, they take a tissue biopsy and send it to a pathologist who analyzes microscopic images of the sample to diagnose the disease. A full report requires at least 4 more tests done in separate labs. This takes 20 days and costs hospitals several £1,000s per patient. At Panakia, we know full diagnosis does not require yet another test. All we need is 1 step, 2 days, and a fraction of the cost. Our deep learning software enables pathologists to get results from biopsy images they already have without changing their workflows. We do this by linking physical features from cancer tissue images to outcomes. In fact, I validated this approach in patient tissues during my PhD. And my co-founder, Pandu, built the first cutting-edge machine learning model to predict exactly that. He has 2 masters, 2 patents, and 6 publications. And he's only 24. I guess that's what happens when you're a child genius and finish school at 14. In contrast, I had to spend the last decade doing a PhD and postdoc in cancer research. But this means we already have proprietary annotations for our data and a patent-pending technology. Our approach has the potential to save healthcare providers billions of dollars every year. No wonder, in just 4 months, we have partnerships with top cancer centers across not 1, not 2, but 3 continents, which gives a critical diversity to our data sets. These include the largest cancer center in Asia and Europe's largest digital pathology consortia, containing more than a dozen hospitals. So join us as we bring our prototype to the clinic. Let's make sure no one, you or your loved one, has to lose decades of their life because of a 28-day delay. Thank you.
Next up is our last team before the break, Speak AI. It's genuinely one of the most exciting EF pitches I've heard. Enter Zena.
Hi everyone, I'm Zena, CEO of Speak AI. Until recently, computerized speeches sounded like a robot. Today, we're doing something different. We're using our software right now. this is synthesized. In fact, John is in the back controlling this as you watch me lip syncing. But I'll stop now. This is going to sound weird, but I want you to listen for the breath of artificial zenith. It's really natural, isn't it? And it's placed perfectly in between the sentences. Now here comes my real voice. Sounds the same, right? Think of this in video games. The game Red Dead Redemption 2 used 700 hours of finished voice. That's 350 times the average length of finished movie, and it took 8 years. Game studios are suffering, but we can save them. One of our clients assembled their entire team to get on a call with us within 24 hours after hearing our demo and asked to pilot straight away. We're offering that studio human quality voice acting on demand. And we're doing the same for 4 other major game studios. They're giving us their data and hours of executive time. Voice in the entertainment industry is a $10 billion opportunity waiting for us. But imagine a future where editing voices is as easy as editing photos, bringing new creative possibilities. This is the future that our clients see, a Photoshop for voice. So, who's behind the scenes? I've spent the last 5 years building tech startups and have 9 years of experience teaching speech and language therapy to children with autism. My co-founder, John, is a machine learning magician with a master's in sound computing and has worked on Hollywood films with the world's most expressive voices. I'm talking Morgan Freeman, Christian Bale, Tom Hardy, Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, all the Toms. We're joined by the audio director of the highest grossing entertainment product in history, Grand Theft Auto V. Moments ago, you heard me synthesized, but we want you to hear something even better, an algorithm that can sound sarcastic and angry. If you don't believe us, come find us after to hear for yourself. Thank you.
Great, so I hope you enjoyed that first half. Please get yourself some refreshments. All of the teams from the first half will be up on the mezzanine layer above the atrium. Please be back for our second half at 2:30. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody. If you could please take your seats, and we'll get started with the second half. Now, before we start the second half, I did want to talk very briefly about Code First Girls. So, as some of you may know, when Matt and I started Entrepreneur First, we also set up Code First Girls. Code First Girls is a not-for-profit that teaches women to code at university for free. By 2020, we will have taught 20,000 women to code for free. And we are... This is one of the most exciting organisations working to improve diversity in tech, and we are currently looking for a new CEO. So if you know anyone who is super ambitious, wants to expand and grow this wonderful organisation, but also has a commercial mindset to make sure that we have a sustainable and long-term funding stream, please do let me know. So either intro them to me directly or let one of the team know and they'll pass it on to me. Thank you very much. On with the second half.
Great. So kicking off the show, we have Vine Health. Vine Health are bringing to bear one of the most powerful tools to help improve patient outcomes, the patients themselves. Raina from Vine Health.
Here's a challenge for you. What do these two things have in common? The first was a simple sticker that cut public toilet cleaning costs by 80%, just because no one can resist a target. Let's take a more serious example. In the 90s, changing paracetamol from tubs to pill packets would go on to save 800 lives over the next few years, simply by making it marginally harder to overdose. So what's my point? My point is that tiny behavioral nudges can have profound consequences. And when it comes to healthcare, a patient's behaviors actually account for up to 50% of their medical outcome. That's more than their genetics and more than their clinical care. As a doctor on the cancer ward, I saw patients unable to bridge the gap between what they should be doing and what they actually did when it came to managing their medications, their side effects, their nutrition, their sleep, their exercise. And it was those behaviors that meant they didn't tolerate their drugs and get the chemotherapy they needed. That's where Vine Health comes in. We use a combination of behavioral science and AI to extend the lives of cancer patients by months and potentially years. Our platform allows patients to track and understand their own health data, and our proprietary algorithms detect patterns in that data, allowing us to deliver personalized nudges that put patients back in control. And we close the loop by feeding that data back to clinicians. We already have 12 clinical partners in our pipeline, giving us access to over 1 million cancer patients. Here's where it gets really interesting. Pharmaceutical companies are pouring $150 billion a year into inefficient oncology trials. And recent regulation changes mean they can no longer get paid for their drugs unless they have real-world, patient-generated data. And that data is exactly what Vine Health generates. That's why we're at the center of conversations with 2 contract research organizations and 7 of the 10 largest global pharmaceutical companies. So who are we? I'm Raina, I'm a medical doctor and neuroscientist, and I'm CEO of Vine Health. Since graduating top of my year from medicine at Cambridge, I've spent the last 10 years in frontline healthcare, government policy, and neuroscientific research at Harvard, Cambridge, MIT, and Columbia, as well as at the Cabinet Office's Nudge Unit. My co-founder, Georgina, is a data scientist. She led GSK's first ever data-driven clinical trial and was instrumental in taking one of the fastest growing medtech startups in the country to Series B as head of their data science and part of their executive team. And the most prominent advisors in the field have joined us. But I'll leave you with this. In our 60-patient beta, 95% of patients onboarded, and 39% went on to be daily active users. This is what one of them said. Since I've been using Vine Health, I've been able to talk in more depth with my doctor than I have in the 4 years I've had cancer. He's finally able to manage my pain, and I'm finally coping with my chemo. It's life-changing. And that's why we built Vine. Come and talk to us.
So in the next hour, the EU is going to be passing a directive banning the use of single-use plastics. Surplus is quite literally perfectly timed to help companies operate in this new reality. Welcome, Surplus.
Let's face it, the world is drowning in plastics. We are harming human and animal health at an unprecedented scale. Every day. Why don't we recycle more? There are 3 reasons for this. First, companies have no economic incentives to be more sustainable. It is really hard to find the right quality material at the right price. And the latest technologies these companies are using are phones and fax machines. But the tide is turning now. Public pressure and regulation is forcing all companies to use more recycled plastics. As of January, the recycling quota needs to nearly double in Germany within the next 3 years. And the other European countries will follow suit. The only problem is the companies don't know where to buy recycled plastics and how to use it. Which is why now is the time for Surplus. Our platform connects sellers and buyers of recycled plastics, digitizes and shortens their procurement process, and leverages AI to guarantee quality, quantity, and price. We will make buying recycled plastics as easy as buying on Amazon. The market for plastics in the European Union is 66 billion euro. Less than 7% of that today comes from recycled plastics. We will help all companies grow this from 7% to 25% by finding the plastics they need on Surplus. And the demand for our solution is real and happening today. Over the last 3 months, we've added more than 40 companies to our waiting list, among which some of the largest players from the industry. And while we're building our MVP, we're already matching and have matched buyers' requests using our website. And our vision doesn't stop simply at the platform. Ultimately, we will be the digital catalyst of the circular economy, connecting all players from the industry to achieve 100% sustainability. To make this vision a reality, we've assembled a world-class team. My co-founder Volkan brings more than 12 years of coding experience, including marketplaces and blockchain. I bring my own experience from BlaBlaCar, scaling from 0 members to 6 million members within just 4 years. And we're joined by Dieter Gottschalk, a mechanical engineer with more than 20 years experience in the plastics industry. And we've already secured additional funding from ClimateKick, the EU's leading climate innovation program. So today, I'm not really here to just ask you for money. I'm asking you for real impact. Let's make plastic waste history. Come and join us. Thank you.
So earlier we had the first ever EF Nanotech pitch. Now we have the second. How can they compete? I think I played my cards earlier. It's nano robots. Lee from Nanovary.
Hi, I'm Lee, CEO of Nanovary. We are building nanorobots to diagnose the world's deadliest diseases. Imagine, your doctor thinks you might have cancer. Normally, your doctor will order a scan. But if you are seeing a lump on the scan, it's probably already too late. Recently, the industry discovered you can detect cancer much earlier using a simple blood test. Your doctor takes a blood sample from you, sends it to the lab, and in 2 weeks, you get your results. That's amazing, right? No. 2 weeks can be the difference between 2 different stages of cancer, between life and death. This cancer detection method uses a sequencing machine. It looks at every single strand of DNA in your blood sample 15,000 times just to find DNA mutations that cause cancer. Now, this struck us as inefficient, slow, and expensive. Wouldn't it be simpler if we could have a search function to search for these specific mutations? Yes, and that search function is what we are building at Nanovary. Doctors can take a blood sample from you and drop in our proprietary nanorobots. When these nanorobots find cancerous DNA, they will bind to it and light up. This is significant because our nanorobots are 10 times cheaper and 100 times faster than the current blood-based detection method. In addition, our margins at scale look more like software than biotechnology. The industry is excited about our vision. As such, we are in advanced discussion with several pharmaceutical companies and have an official collaboration with Genomics England. Most excitingly, we have access to 5 tissue banks with tens of thousands of samples. We can do this because of our world-class team. My co-founder, Jurek, is one of a few world experts with 8 years of experience in AI and DNA nanotechnology. I hold a PhD in pharmacology and previously co-founded a robotic startup to automate cancer research. When we succeed, 3 things become possible. First, your blood samples won't take 2 weeks to be processed. It will be processed at the point of care. Secondly, cancer screening can be done more routinely. In fact, not just cancer. Our nanorobots can be tweaked to target other diseases, as easy as changing 1 letter in our search function. And lastly, using our data set, pharmaceutical companies can accelerate their drug development. Personalized treatment could become a reality. If this is the world that you would like to be part of, come and speak to us afterwards. Thank you.
A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to one of the technologists I admire most. Stanford degrees, time on Stand Hill Road, all the badges. And she was saying, we were talking about this team, in fact, this next team, SEO. And her view was, it was one of the most transformative, game-changing technologies she'd seen since returning to Europe. Interested? Let's hear from Yasir from SEO.
Transport, trading, robots, IoT and the edge. What do these all have in common? They all depend on clocks to function. In the past, machines were working independently, so the absolute time wasn't very important. But now we're moving towards a distributed, autonomous future, so the machines have to work together. But machines don't have a global clock that they can reference. They each have their own individual concept of what time is. So you're probably thinking, so what? We all have watches a few minutes off from each other, and we're fine. But machines don't see the world like we do. For humans, time isn't just a number. For machines, it is. So what happens if that ability to tell time is compromised? Chaos. Even 1 microsecond could be catastrophic. At SEO, we enable machines to work together autonomously without the internet by removing any dependency on time. Our system constructs a logical representation of events rather than time-based. And this is what allows the machines to work together safely, on the edge, off the grid, no humans required. Our technology requires zero infrastructure, so it can be deployed anywhere. It's more efficient than current solutions like 4G and GPS, and eliminates single-point failure. And this is crucial. So I know what you're thinking. This is incredible. But where is SEO needed right now? Heavy industries. in particular, mining. Mining represents 1% of the global workforce, yet accounts for 8% of fatalities, with $30 billion in annual compensations in the US and Canada alone. It's a very dangerous industry, and it needs more automation. But mines are complex, often underground environments where connectivity cannot be guaranteed. And throw into the mix giant 50-ton haul trucks and tiny people and diggers and drills and all this stuff working in tight spaces. There's just no room for failure. With SEO, these mines will look very different. With SEO, it's possible for humans and all kinds of autonomous machines to be aware of each other over and underground and work together harmoniously, zero compromise on safety or efficiency. So what happens now if the ability to tell time is compromised? Nothing. Team SEO can do this because we have 2 PhDs solving this exact problem. Unfortunately, none of them belong to me. Yan Wen, the CTO and brains behind SEO, selfishly has both the PhDs solving this exact problem, the real-time optimization of distributed systems. And she spent 8 years in industry, that's 8 years in industry, building high-performance software. She's incredible. I'm Yasser, the CEO. I do have a master's in integrated circuit design, where I developed distributed circuits on chips. And then I spent 3 years in Tokyo launching companies in Southeast Asia and China. Huge markets for us in the future. We also have advisors in Chile, Canada, North America, and Australia. The sun never sets on SEO. And we're also part of the Global Mining Guidelines Group, where we're contributing to thought leadership on the future of automation in mining. In fact, just next week, we'll be in South Africa talking to the major global players and demoing our tech. So, if you want to find out more, I'll say yo later.
So, kite surfing with Barack Obama, launching homebrew rockets in the Mojave Desert, or even just chilling at Burning Man. We all know what you VCs spend your weekends doing. But what about VC problems, like managing your wealth? Thankfully, we have Q here from Rosecut, who's going to tell us about the first full-service digital private bank. Welcome, Q.
Hi, I'm Chaojia, or Q for short. 6 years ago, I moved into private wealth management. Coming from China and starting from scratch, I grew my asset under management from 0 to 100 million pounds. Most advisors struggle to ever reach that figure. For the few that do, it can take up to 10 years. I did it in 3. But for the majority of people, the door to private banks has always been locked. The key to open that door used to be £1 million of investable assets, but today it's 2 to 5 million. 15% of UK population have 100,000 to 2 million in investable assets. These people are invisible to private wealth managers. And the low-cost platforms for the retail market lack the personalization that they need. An unserved middle market that's only getting bigger. Maybe some of you in this room. That's why we built Rosecut. Rosecut is a digital private bank that gives you a bespoke wealth building strategy. You can plan, allocate, and invest in real time as your life changes. It understands your ambitions, then builds you a roadmap to get there. If you go to a traditional private bank, you will come back feeling one thing: I'll never have enough money. But this isn't about how much money you have. It's about what that money will enable you to do. What will your future look like? With RoseCut, you can literally see it. This is a massive opportunity, and we're running fast. And it's not just me who believes that. In only the last 2 months, we have received offers of £4.3 million of assets to manage, and we have £700,000 onboarded to our platform. We are already operating as appointed representative regulated by the FCA and expect to receive our full license within the next few months. Our advisory board includes the Global Chief Investment Officer of Credit Suisse, the former head of UBS Smart Wealth, and one of the most respected wealth planners in town. I'm Q, and no, I don't work for MI6. But I was officially recognized as one of the best advisors in the UK in 2018. No one understands this space like I do. And I even haven't told you about my co-founder yet. In his previous role as a founder and CTO, Gustavo built and sold one of the most successful B2C startups in Latin America, which he scaled to millions of users. He understands how to build a product that users love. With his experience in automating human advice and my expertise as a human advisor, we are creating RoseCut. We would love to take your money. We'll either invest it for you or give you some equity. Ideally, both. Thank you.
So if you've ever had a scare with skin cancer, you'll know that it's not a pleasant experience. You'll also know that the processes involved are both archaic and, frankly, not fit for purpose in the 21st century. SquareMind is here to change that.
Good afternoon. I hope you're still alive, because we're going to talk about something massive today. My name is Ali, and I'm the co-founder of SquareMind. At SquareMind, we're reinventing early skin cancer detection with a breakthrough AI and robotics. Just one statistic. Among the 500 people in this room today, 10 of us will develop melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer in their lifetime. Early detection is critical to save your life, but there are two main issues. Well, first, melanoma detection is really hard and highly prone to human error, even for the most experienced professionals. And two, the gold standard in early detection, a full body mapping, remains incomplete and a highly manual process, preventing it from scaling. At SquareMind, we're taking a radically different approach. And we have built a state-of-the-art 3D reconstruction software that enables an off-the-shelf robot to autonomously and accurately navigate around your body in real time. Now imagine, you get a comprehensive and automated full body mapping in less than 5 minutes. And because the robot moves very closely to you, pictures are standardized and of high resolution, enabling to track mole's evolution very accurately over time. Take your regular favorite doctor or dermatologist, Dr. Shepard, or Dr. Gray if you prefer. They can now focus on what they do best, imaging analysis. But instead of relying on their sole experience or judgment, our AI provides them with unique insights for better mole risk assessments. And this is not science fiction. We already have 1 prototype, 2 patents, and 5 pilots planned with leading hospitals and key opinion leaders. and the market potential is huge. $7 billion globally. Even more exciting, the same core technology can be extended to other medical areas. Think of cosmetics or cardiology, for instance. As you know, it's all about execution. And here is the team. My co-founder, Tanguy, is an experienced machine learning engineer from UCL, where he developed state-of-the-art deep learning systems for medical surgery. As for myself, I have an engineering background and spent the past 5 years in management consulting at Oliver Wyman, helping companies to scale and succeed. SquareMind is coming at a unique moment in technology history. By combining, as we do, the phenomenal recent advances in deep learning and robotics, we're opening the path for autonomous robots in healthcare. Think about it. 10 years from now, autonomous medical assistants will be commonplace, and SquareMind will be at the forefront of this revolution. So if you share the same passion and ambition as we do, then I guess you know what you have to do. Thank you very much.
When an EF company's traction is on fire, you know they found an amazing problem. And when they're operating in a huge industry, that starts to get exciting. Let's hear from Rav from Entropic.
Hi, I'm Rav, CEO of Entropic. Would you believe me if I told you that employees in one of the most valuable industries globally are only productive 30% of their time? No, I'm not talking about VCs. I'm talking about asset managers. In financial markets, information truly is power. In the last 5 years, the amount of information has exploded. New sources like credit card transactions and web scraping are incredibly valuable, but they are also unstructured and almost unusable in their native form. New sets of data are appearing all the time, and in this industry, they're simply too valuable just to ignore. Asset managers are already spending over $11 billion a year to try and make sense of all this information. When I was the global head of data at Man Group, the largest listed hedge fund in the world, it was my responsibility to ensure that our portfolio managers had the best information at their fingertips. We had to have an entire team of data engineers constantly cleaning and mapping the information because there was no other way. My co-founder, Sam, was the data engineering team at his hedge fund. He was the youngest person to be made a portfolio manager, responsible for billions of dollars of client money, but had to waste 70% of his time simply preparing data. What we needed was a data refinery that could ingest and map multiple sources of information. What we needed was a system that could constantly learn and improve. What we needed was just to be able to focus on managing client money. What we needed was Entropic. Entropic is the end result of our combined 18 years of experience. It's what's enabled us to create a product that's ready to sell in just 6 months. It's a mini refinery focusing on equities that pulls information from multiple sources and maps it in a way that our clients can generate insights in record time. 22 hedge funds are already using our product, and we are in active discussions with 16 more. But what's most exciting is that we are already generating revenue, and our pipeline is worth over $1 million. And that's just for the mini refinery. We're going to transform the industry and make it an order of magnitude more efficient for asset managers to make use of all the relevant information to allocate the world's capital. If you want to allocate your capital efficiently, make sure you come and speak to us. Thank you.
How can you make supply chain management interesting? Simple. Save your customers money, create value, and build a great business. Flowlity.
Hi, I am Jean-Baptiste, co-founder of Flowlity. We are building the first cognitive supply chain network. Inefficiencies in supply chain management cost the world $2 trillion every year. In the auto industry, they regularly use planes to deliver screws, light bulbs, or wiper blades. Why? Well, if one tiny part stops the production, it costs them 9,000 euros every single minute. But this is not just about cost. In healthcare, millions of people suffer needlessly when supply chains fail to deliver the medicines they need. So the question is why? Well, firstly, supply chains are still very manual. Manufacturers are using papers, whiteboards, or Excel files to do their planning. Secondly, data is still held in silos. Industrial players lack the time, the capacity, and the trust in one another to truly synchronize. Finally, it's called supply chain because it's connected. One issue at one player affects several down the line. We are Flowlity, and we are solving this issue. We understand that supply chains are interdependent. And through AI, we provide end-to-end optimization. We automate supply chain planning by throwing out the static models. We give recommendations dynamically about purchase decisions, looking at internal and external real-time data. Every customer plugged into our network becomes instantly more powerful through our natural network effects. With this, we optimize stock levels, reduce shortages, and avoid lost sales. Our first paid pilot is with an industrial supplier with revenues of 42 billion euros. With Flowlity, 40% less inventory is needed, which means hundreds of thousands euros saved. But more interestingly, they recognize the value of our product, and they introduced us to 2 of their suppliers. Our customers become our sales force. We have data sharing agreements with 3 other companies and have 15 other customers in our pipeline across auto, aerospace, and consumer goods. A mission like this, it requires deep knowledge of supply chain management, AI research, and large-scale deployment. My CTO, Karim, spent the last 4 years scaling machine learning algorithms. He was the first data scientist hired at AXA France, and most recently, he scaled the Criteos product from 1 to 100 million ads per day. I spent 7 years working for supply chain software vendors. At Dassault Systèmes, I led a team of 15 people that created a new product and achieved 5 million of recurring revenue in only 2 years. And we are joined by experts and advisors in the field. We are raising money to reduce waste, to avoid unnecessary transportations, and to build a more efficient world. So we are Flowlity. Come talk to us to know more. Thank you.
Next up, we have another rockstar technical team. When Omni's products hit the market, you can be sure that clinical chemistry will never be the same. Joanne.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Omni. And we make blood testing 100 times faster and 100 times simpler. 70% of medical decisions require clinical chemistry, like blood tests. But the problem with these tests is that they take time, hours, days, a time that your doctor does not have when he needs to make a decision fast. And this creates a trade-off between quality and speed of a medical decision. This is where we step in. We develop biosensing devices for immediate blood tests that combine the accuracy of clinical chemistry with the portability and connectivity of mobile health devices. Our device performs 3 main actions. It identifies and analyzes a target molecule out of thousands. It then transforms this data into a signal, and it converts this signal into a meaningful value for the user to read. The technology we are building is 100 times faster than traditional laboratory tests, and 100 times simpler to use than any competitor with the same accuracy. Now, there are more than 700 tests performed in the lab, and we need to tackle them one by one. Our first product will measure a marker of infections and inflammations, and it will help avoid excessive antibiotic prescriptions. And we already have 60 doctors who want to test our device. Why? Because up until today, 25% of antibiotics are given uselessly due to a misdiagnosis, leading to more and more resistant bacteria, one of the most urgent threats for public health. But this is only the beginning. From infections and inflammations, we will move on to cardiac diseases, neurological disorders, cancer, where every ounce of precision matters. Too good to be true? Not really. My co-founder, Anna, has 2 masters in chemistry and a PhD in bioelectronics. And she spent the last 5 years building groundbreaking biosensing technologies, which are at the heart of our products. And she is one of the few people in the world who can build them from scratch. I myself am a biochemist and a molecular biologist. And I spent my PhD producing and studying biological systems outside the body. As a team, we are removing the absurd choice professionals have had to make between the quality and speed of medical decisions. Together, we are disrupting medical diagnosis by making blood testing 100 times faster and 100 times simpler. Theranos had the vision, but we have the technology. Come and see us and see our prototype. Thank you.
In finance, clearly, information is money. SensStreet bring actionable insight to the fore on trading desks. Haroon from SensStreet.
Good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you today about the hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of trades that are happening at investment banks around the world every year. But before we get there, we really need to talk about how I lost my hair. The core activity of trading desks at investment banks is talking to clients. Way back in 2001, when I first stepped onto a trading floor, I used the phone to do this. A year later, while I still had a thick, luxurious mane of hair, a major innovation, the online chat room. And since then, nothing. 17 years later, fully 80% of these valuable conversations still take place in that same old chat room. What has changed is the volume. It's exploded. Today, a trader or a salesperson is expected to manage hundreds of these conversations simultaneously, which is why I stand before you today as bald as a newborn baby. Managing that many conversations, but with teams that are now distributed all over the world, results in millions per desk going through the cracks in wasted opportunities. To make matters even worse, error-defining regulations that we all know about since the 2008 crisis means these investment banks are now forced to commit more and more capital to these trading activities, crushing profitability by as much as 80% in some cases. At SensStreet, we are going to free the information that is stuck in these chat rooms. And we're going to do this by building natural language models of client intent as it occurs in these unstructured contexts. And more, we are creating a whole new category of applications predicated on those conversations and the intentions that they represent that are not possible today. Imagine, from all this noise, being able to understand and isolate exactly what matters. Banks are desperate for this level of efficiency. So how big an opportunity are we talking about? Well, there are 100 investment banks around the world, give or take, and each of their 3,000 trading desks really need our solution. We are in conversations with 18, advanced conversations with 18 of these banks, and 2 of them have agreed POCs with commercial terms embedded in there. If we can take just 3% of 1%, so that's 3 basis points, of the total trade notionals that are going through these desks, we're looking at a $30 billion addressable market. So how are we going to capture this value? Well, allow me to introduce you to my CTO and co-founder, Soren. It actually took us quite a few snappy snaps to get that winning smile out of Soren. Yeah, really. But don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by that happy-go-lucky exterior. Yeah. Soren has 12 years of hard enterprise engineering experience at some of the world's largest corporations. Crucially, his most recent experience has been designing and developing the next generation of cloud infrastructures at Credit Suisse and RBS. He is perfectly suited to build our solution. My name is Haroon. I have 17 years of experience trading on desks in New York and London. My background is in applied mathematics and computer science, and for the last 4 years, I've been conducting research at the University of Bristol, applying NLP techniques to finance. Soren and I are on a journey building technology that is going to be applied to literally hundreds of trillions of dollars in economic activity. It's going to be quite a ride, and I really hope you'll join us. Thank you.
It doesn't take many times around the loop of private healthcare to realize how wildly inefficient the system is. Contev are going to capture the value in these wild inefficiencies. Let's hear more.
Hi, everyone. Contev optimizes healthcare networks for insurers. I spent the last few years working as a senior data scientist at AXA, the largest insurance company in the world. But when I first discovered how health insurance operations teams were working, I was shocked. Private health insurers have tons of historical claims data available, but they still rely on manual processes to decide which care provider to use and how much to spend. While in Dubai, I saw a patient get a quote for a $20,000 surgery to cure his chronic back pain. Our techniques proactively recommended an alternative clinic that delivered the same surgery with a better care quality for $7,000. Better care, but 3 times cheaper. And this is not the only example. We combine data from claims, providers, and external sources to feed our optimization algorithms that build a holistic view of care provider networks. This allows our software to influence the decisions made by insurers, driving down the cost while improving the quality of care. Our proprietary algorithms are uniquely suited for these complex problems that have never been tackled before. In 2018, the health insurance industry has grown to an estimated $1.2 trillion in premiums. Market figures shows us that 70% of that amount goes towards reimbursement, whereas only 2% goes towards the profits. With such razor-thin margins, an optimization of 2% virtually doubles the profits. This is why we are working closely with Allianz, the largest insurance company in Europe. And in a few weeks, we will start a paid pilot with Allianz Qatar, and subsequently another paid pilot with Allianz Italy. In parallel, we just submitted a paid pilot proposal to AXA PPP, the second largest health insurer in the UK. This amounts to a 6-figure forecasted revenue this year. And we are still in advanced discussion with multiple health insurers across the world. My co-founder, Adrian, has already published 6 papers and has another one on the way. He is an expert in optimization and holds a PhD from École Polytechnique. My insider knowledge of the industry intricacies, combined with Adrian's ability to solve these complex problems using quantitative techniques, mean that we are already becoming the go-to enterprise software for the health insurance industry. And the timing could not be better. Health insurers are already looking beyond the cost of care towards the value of care. We are Contev. We optimize healthcare networks for insurers. Thank you.
We've already seen a company today that's transforming the physical side of the construction industry. Morta is going to transform the way that data and information are handled in this trillion-dollar space. Morta.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to construct this building? Wood, cranes, workers, but you forgot a key ingredient: documents. Documents in PDF and in paper. Contracts, specifications, and procedures, all of which have to be manually enforced by humans. In fact, inefficient document-based processes are costing the construction industry over £200 billion every year. At Morta, we are codifying the rules, workflows, and eventually all transactions in construction projects. Let me show you how. Kate and her team are managing the design of a building. Kate begins by outlining the rules of this process in a document. Companies then submit their designs to Kate's team, and Kate's team spends 70% of their time manually checking whether the designers followed her rules. Being human, they make mistakes. And mistakes mean delays or even entire parts of the building having to be rebuilt. Our first product allows Kate to codify her rules in a version that computers can actually understand. Companies then submit their designs through Morta, and we automatically check whether the designers followed Kate's rules. No more documents, no more mistakes, and no more inefficiency. And that is why 5 of the largest engineering firms have already agreed to pilot with us. But what is even more exciting is that we will now have access to reliable, structured data about what is being built. This means that we will be the only people who can automate many other processes for these same construction firms, making us the platform to manage projects in this $11 trillion industry. In the future, Kate will use Morta to cost and plan her project. She will use Morta to source and pay for every supplier. And she will even use Morta to send information and work orders to every robot on site, all with the click of a button. We are fundamentally changing the way project teams will deliver every road, hospital, and home in the future. And the industry is ready. Governments are mandating digitization in projects, and the industry standards that make this possible came out only 2 months ago. And we are the perfect team to make this a reality. While doing his master's in computer science at Imperial, my co-founder Matt won an award for his thesis. And I spent the last 5 years leading digitization efforts in the largest contractor in the Middle East. I was constantly being pitched artificial intelligence and robotics as the solutions to the industry's problems. However, as long as the rules of construction are trapped in documents, mismanagement, delays, and waste will continue to plague projects. At Morta, we are codifying rules of construction to change that. Thank you.
Reliable, early, diagnosis is the holy grail in neurodegenerative disease. And until now, it's been an unattainable goal. Cognizant are here to tell us why that's no longer the case.
Hi, I'm Kai, the CEO of Cognizant, a neurotest company. Imagine you notice changes in your parents' behavior. They start forgetting, they're losing balance, they're falling over. You might ask yourself, is it just age? Or is it the beginning of something more serious, like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's? So you might turn to Google for an easy answer, but you will not find one. Perhaps you take them to your GP, but there's only a 50% chance that these diseases are detected early on. So what you're left with is waiting. Waiting until the symptoms worsen. Waiting until the final diagnosis arrives. But by then, most of the damage to the brain has already been done. We are changing this. Let me share with you a little known fact directly from the research labs. One of the early signs in both diseases is a lack of the sense of smell. And this happens up to 10 years before more severe symptoms occur. And this is the reason why smell is a key input factor into our solution, which is non-invasive and self-administered. Let me tell you how it works. You take a smell test, and you fill our tailored questionnaire on early risk factors and symptoms. Both is fed into our machine learning algorithm, which is at the core of our business. Our prototype has been trained on an exclusive data set and calculates a personal risk score with 90% accuracy. So, if you're at low risk, you have peace of mind, and you just take the test again whenever you want. If you're at high risk, you have clarity on your symptoms. You can take further tests, initiate lifestyle changes, and plan ahead. And there's no limit to the number of variables we can integrate. That can range from MRI scans, blood tests, and genetic tests. We're uniquely placed to take this product to market. My co-founder, Micol, has 6 years' experience in developing computational and machine learning models for medical applications, including using olfactory data to diagnose neurological diseases. I bring a decade of commercial experience, including leading the global rollout of a scent-related business for BASF. Our scientific advisor is Professor Thomas Hummel, who is a leading expert in this field. He heads the Smell and Taste Center of the University Clinic of Dresden, one of 4 hospitals where our prototype will be tested from May on. And we are joined by founder and investor Tracy Doree, who has experience in making and selling consumer products to customers in Europe and in the US. We will empower your parents and loved ones to assess their risk, to be prepared, and to take action. If you share this mission, please come and smell our prototype. Thank you.
Okay, so improving human health, solving climate change. Perhaps the last 2 pitches of the day. There's only one pitch left today. Taking the phi out of sci-fi, neoplants.
The first time I met my co-founder Patrick, he said, "Nature is the most powerful piece of technology in the world." And at the time, I thought that was a crazy statement. But today, I am 100% convinced that he was right. We're neoplants. We use synthetic biology to design the plants of the future. But before we get to the exciting stuff, I have bad news to share. The air you're breathing right now is 2 to 5 times more polluted than outdoors, where it's already quite bad. On average, you spend about 90% of your time indoors, which makes indoor air pollution a serious issue, leading to asthma, allergies, cancers, and millions of premature deaths every year. The main pollutants indoors are called VOCs, for volatile organic compounds, and unfortunately, there's no solution for that today. Air purifiers, gorgeous machines that claim to clean the air, they don't work. And I'm sorry to break the myth, but existing green plants have no impact on the air quality in your home. So that's where we started, with this idea of building the plant of the future. Its code name is Neo1, and it's the first indoor plant that can effectively purify the air in your home. The plant is biologically engineered, not only to capture VOCs, but to metabolize them. We use the latest synthetic biology and gene editing techniques to drastically increase the speed at which the plant and its microbiome do that. We're submitting 3 patents on our technology this year alone. The product is at the intersection of indoor plants and air purifiers, which are 2 large and growing markets. But the opportunity goes far beyond that. The potential of using neoplants outdoors for carbon capture, for example, is extraordinary. Now, to grab this opportunity, we need to be really good at 2 things. 1, the science. My co-founder Patrick has a PhD in genome editing from ENS Paris, where you actually have more chances of getting a Nobel Prize than anywhere else in the world. He has the exact knowledge to rethink what a plant can do. Second, go to market. I spent 4 years at Google as a product marketing manager, launching new categories of product at scale in both hardware and software. We're also surrounded by this exceptional team of advisors who are very hands-on and have direct expertise in our field. Right now, we're growing prototypes. And I'm excited to say that we expect final results on the first ones in the coming weeks. Now let me ask you something. How many brands of plants do you know? 0. It's an old industry that hasn't seen radical product innovation for the past centuries. By creating this new category of plants, we have the opportunity to become the first legitimate brand of plants ever seen. A brand that would stand for a future where people actually care about their environment and where we use technology to harness the power of nature. But there is no iconic brand without an iconic product. And so I cannot leave you today without sharing a little snapshot of the vision we have for Neo1. We're Neoplants. Thank you very much.
So that's the end of our teams today. I know you all want to go and meet them, so I won't hold you back. Just a couple of general tips. Most of the first half teams are on the mezzanine layer. Most of the second half teams are in the atrium outside. Of course, feel free to arrange follow-ups directly with the teams. We also have Matt Wachowski at our launch team who can also facilitate meetings. Just to say thank you to you all for coming, and thanks to all the teams and the EF team for getting them here today. One last round of applause, please. Thank you.